The Fargo Five, I'm Conrad Fargo. Would you like to have a relationship with Fargo, North Dakota? Well, you found it. This is the way to do it. This is the show for that. So subscribe. Hit the subscribe button wherever you are, wherever you're watching. We're doing the Fargo Famous segment here. We're here with Mindy Heitkamp, the interim executive director at the Fargo-Moorhead Symphony Orchestra. Hello, Mindy.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on. So you are, we had to cross it out, so I always come in with the paper so that I can remember on air. You used to be the development director. Now you're the interim executive director. That's a upgrade.
Yeah, correct. So
okay.
I started with the FM Symphony Orchestra last October, came on as development director, and then just this past October 1st, assumed the role of interim executive director.
Well, that's great. So interim, does that mean like temporary? Or what does that mean?
Yep.
How does that become the permanent? How do you get that? How do you get that job?
Well, yeah, we'll see. But right now, enjoying the role.
Okay.
Great organization and having so much fun with it.
And so when did you start at the Fargo-Moorhead Symphony Orchestra?
Last October.
So
just over a year with the org, and came about this in a pretty untraditional way. I was a high school biology, chemistry, physical science teacher.
Wow.
For 17 years in West Fargo.
Okay, it's like in the high school.
In the high school, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then found my way to the symphony without much musical background, but loving this and learning a ton super fast.
Yeah. Well, so how did you find your way there exactly? So you were teaching at the time.
So I was teaching. Linda Boyd was our interim executive director.
She was also an interim.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Well, she was
noticing a pattern.
Executive director for decades a while back.
Okay.
Came back in an interim role and reached out with this opportunity, and no looking back. It's been fun.
While you were teaching.
Right after. Yep. Right at the end of
And how
that.
long had you been a teacher?
17 years.
Wow, 17 years. You must have got like straight out of high school. You must have got your teaching degree.
So yeah, it's a fun gig. Great organization, absolutely.
How did you land becoming a teacher? How did that come about?
Went into biology and chemistry, and my very first role, I was working in the egg industry. Found myself on the back of an air seed planter on the corn research and development team.
Wow.
Which was super fascinating. Came from farm families, and absolutely loved that, but trying to coincide that with raising a baby at the same time was tricky.
So you're a mother. How many children do you have now?
I have two. I have a 20-year-old that goes to college at Bismarck State.
Oh, my goodness.
And she's in the surgical technology program.
Okay.
And then I have a 15-year-old son who's a sophomore.
My. Okay. So your son's still at home with you?
He is at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
But once they're 15, I think they're a little easier to handle, or are they harder to handle?
We're autopilot for the most part.
Yeah. I've got a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old.
You'll get there.
And I'm sorry, she's 5, and she's getting there. The 3-year-old's still a handful. We got one on the way.
Oh.
Yeah. But I want to hear more about teaching. So you did that for 17 years.
I did.
Right up in front of all of these students, different students every year. Mm-hmm. What's that like?
That's so fun, so fascinating, so fulfilling.
You get to meet so many different people.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot different from working at as the interim director at the orchestra.
It is so very different.
The number of people you're meeting has got to be a lot smaller.
Right. And teaching itself has changed a lot in those 17 years even.
Yeah.
Just a ton of changes, and after 17 years, the timing was right to try something different, and so here we are.
And here we are. So how many people are working at? So I mean, the Fargo-Moorhead Symphony Orchestra. This is like a nonprofit, right? Like
it
you guys,
is
and so
a nonprofit. All musicians are paid. We have 80 musicians, plus we have a sub list that we fall back on when we need to.
But do you see those musicians like day to day? Like I want to try to get a picture of like what it's like day to day working in the nonprofit of a symphony, especially as the interim director. So you come into the office and all 80 musicians are sitting there waiting for you.
They are not.
Okay.
80 musicians have full-time gigs.
Oh my, okay.
and
So they're all part-timers.
This is a side gig for them for sure.
Okay.
So in our office, we're located in WDUI Tower. It's myself. We have a business manager, Bobby Jones.
Okay.
And an interim, or not an interim, that's me. We also have a development assistant, Jessa
Yeah.
Lingren, that's with us on a part-time basis.
Oh,
we
wow.
have a business manager that's under contract. And so, yeah, we're
Just
small.
4 people.
We're small but mighty.
4 people.
For sure. And then the musicians we see more during concert week. And so what that looks like, our music director, Maestro Christopher Zimmerman, comes into town from Virginia the Sunday prior to our concerts.
So he's not even from Fargo.
He lives in Virginia.
Oh, wow.
And has a symphony in Fairfax.
Everybody else is probably Fargo-based, though, or not so much.
Not so much.
Really?
The majority.
Wow.
The majority.
Okay,
and
I
we
did not
pride
realize
ourselves
that.
in being mostly local.
Yeah,
But we do have some musicians that come in from Minneapolis, some that come in from Grand Forks. When we have sublists, some come in from farther than that too. So the Sunday before the concert, they'll do some sectionals with the conductor, and then starting Monday night, it's rehearsal.
And they're all living in hotels while they're here. And
They're staying.
or half of them.
Yeah,
You can probably tell when you're watching the symphony. You can, like, the ones who are put together more came from home, and the other ones look like they've been, maybe at a Holiday Inn,
Right.
or some, wherever. Holiday Inn's fine. Okay, I told you the segments go fast.
Yes, they do.
We are done with the first segment, Fargo
wow.
Famous. That was 5 minutes. That was
Okay.
more than 5 minutes. Can you believe it?
All right. Well, thank you.
I told you it goes quick.
Sure
Next
does.
segment is going to be Fargo Fun, but we're going to take our break. We are listening to some Zelda music. I've got a guy by the name of Marble Ponds. You should check him out on YouTube. He's got all kinds of remixes. We're just going to kind of be dodging in and out of that to listen to some Zelda remixes here. And we will be back with the Fargo Fun segment because we're going to talk about the symphony coming up, which is going to be Zelda-based, which is very cool. So we're going to talk about all that when we come back. So don't go nowhere.